I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land in which we are meeting today, and I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people that might be on the call with us today. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to Mark O'Leary, Judy Schmidt, and Simon Lewis from Arrow Private Wealth, who will talk to us today about how to support individuals and families and allow them the opportunity to focus on what's important. So over to Arrow. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Alison. I'm Mark O'Leary from Arrow Private Wealth, and with me today is Judy Schmidt, who is Head of Advice at Arrow, a very experienced advisor, and also a partner in the firm, and Simon Lewis, also an experienced advisor, and has been with Arrow, I think, for 16 or 17 years, Simon, something like that. Together, we have many years in providing pro bono services in this space, firstly through the Cancer Council many years ago, and now Pancare. We'll run through some key points over the next 20 minutes or so, and we'll leave time for questions at the end. And I think before introducing Judy, I'd just like to give you a sense of what it is we do by describing my involvement and why I'm with what took me to Pancare in the first place, and I'll be very brief on this. So yeah, as an advisor, I was providing advice to individuals, families, patients, if you like, through the Cancer Council for several years. And in doing that, I was referred to a lady called Helen McGregor. This is maybe 5 or 6 years ago, something like that. So Helen was working or a patient through the Pancare Foundation. She had pancreatic cancer. I'd never really dealt with anybody in this space before. And the first time I met with her, she described her circumstances as having gone from the workplace to Centrelink within 6 weeks, outlining how her world was turned upside down and very quickly. At the time, she was trying new cancer treatments, but was distressed about paying her bills and cash flow generally, and this was a major distraction for her. I understood what my job is, and Judy and Simon are exactly the same, and my job was to take away this stress as quickly as possible and to let her focus on her treatment without worrying about money. So the first port of call for us was to go to a super fund and advocate on her behalf. There wasn't a lot there, I have to say, but there was a significant amount of insurance that she wasn't aware of, which we had released, and that was able to bring her up to date financially. We set up a monthly income stream and was able to set aside the balance of the fund in a legacy arrangement for her son, who was a teenager at the time. And so that allowed her to stop worrying about paying the bills. We made sure her Centrelink entitlements were up to date and she was able to get whatever she was entitled to. And then to sort of wrap it all up in the appropriate level of documentation, we found a lawyer that provided pro bono services in relation to her wills, but more importantly, her powers of attorney. So in essence, our job was able to let Helen get on and deal with her serious illness, and that sort of led us to really understanding the depth of services that Pancare provided. Unfortunately, Helen didn't come through, but we felt the family was well placed to not worry about it from a financial perspective through the work that we did. So that's enough about that as an example of what we do. Judy, you're going to run through. You've got a very brief agenda to run through, so I'm not sure what it actually is. So over to you.
Sure. Thanks very much, Mark. So today it's an interesting one because you all come with very unique and distinct set of circumstances, and so this is really about giving you general information because we're all so different. Your financial situation is totally different to one another, but our aim is for each of you to at least get one point that you can take out of this from the conversation together. And as we've said, questions at the end, we fully welcome that with respect to your individual situations. I guess the way we look at this, we kind of segment the financial considerations, starting with legal, as I'll go over that in a moment. We also look at what else is there that you should be thinking about: superannuation and insurance or personal risk. We've got issues around government support, employment support, other type of relief agencies. And so Simon will cover off a lot on that. But I just wanted to start with the point that going through treatment is an enormous burden in so many ways, and it's very time consuming, draining, energy gets zapped. And so a starting point for us really is to say, who's the support around you? And I'm not just talking about Pancare, I'm talking about the people in your lives that while you're going through treatment and you're going through this, who are the people that can sit alongside you and in not just an emotional, but in a legal sense, be assisting you? And so a starting point is to really think about, do you have powers of attorney as an example? So these are documents that allow you to appoint somebody to make financial decisions and carry out some transactions on your behalf. You give permission. So we think about times where, you know, you might be receiving treatment and you're just not in a position to go to a bank or, you know, be paying bills. Your mind and your concentration and energy is elsewhere. Sure, that's important, but you just don't have the ability to do that for yourself. So for us, the starting point is, who's that person or people that sit around you that can take on some of these burdens for yourself. Again, at the end of this, happy to talk about the kinds of powers of attorney that you can put in place from a legal perspective, really to give you this assistance. So if you're dealing with financial institutions such as your super fund or as I said before, banks, somebody to step in and help you out if you need that support. Very important point. Another legal aspect is thinking about, for those who are employed, what are some of the questions that you need to be asking of your employer in terms of entitlements, sick leave entitlements, even for carers? Is there some form of leave without pay as an example? So again, we'll encourage individual questions around this at the end, but start to give consideration to how is your employer able to assist you for a period of time. So that's really surrounding yourselves with, you know, appropriate people and appropriate resources. Do you have professionals in place? You know, even a tax advisor, as an example, might be somebody that be able to support you. Certainly, I'm not sure how many people would have financial advisors, but those type of professionals outside of your immediate world. And these people, in terms of powers of attorney, people to support you, we're talking about people that are close to you, that you trust, and, you know, that could really carry on for you while you're not in a position temporarily to be able to do the things that you need to do. So from a legal framework, we really start at that point, and then we start to drill down into these particular areas about what's available, what are some of the things, the financial resources that you should be looking for. And so, Simon, I might hand over to you just to start talking about some of these areas.
Sure. Thanks, Judy. So I think following on from what Judy was saying, some of the things I'm going to talk about here, it may actually be that trusted advisor or that those people that are close to you that might have power of attorney that could really assist you in these different areas. But I suppose people just need to understand that these avenues are open to them. And with many of these things, it's about, I suppose, having information available on things like your super accounts, details of banks and that sort of thing, so that those people who are assisting you can then go away and follow up. So perhaps the first area to discuss is around superannuation. So if you are in a situation where you're facing hardship, you might have medical bills or other expenses that that are difficult to meet in the short term, then there is the possibility of getting early access to your superannuation, and that's on compassionate grounds. And it will be different for each individual as to what those compassionate grounds might be, but that's something that can be followed up with your super fund as to whether you do have access to your super. It's really important to know that superannuation, while most people understand that it's there for retirement purposes, it is also there for purposes where people need assistance, where they do have health issues or medical issues, and there are there are other compassionate grounds because there's financial hardship. So I think most people don't perhaps know as well that superannuation is there for that purpose as well as for retirement. So you don't necessarily have to be over age 60 or age 65 to access your super in that situation. So in terms of following that up, you can either contact your super fund, or you can also contact the ATO as well to get more information on how to access your super. And where you do have a financial advisor, then that's also a great person to speak to if you are needing to access superannuation. Another point in regards to super too is that many people will have more than one superannuation fund and have lost super effectively. So it's also worth sort of doing a search and trying to find all super that you have. That also leads on to insurance that might be held within superannuation. So many people may not know that when they've started a superannuation fund, they may get insurance automatically that comes with that fund. So again, there's a couple of different types of insurance that may be of benefit in a situation where you are finding it difficult to meet costs. And even if you're not, if you've got the insurance there, it's obviously worth claiming on it, because it's something that you've paid for throughout your lifetime, and so it's a benefit that you should access. So the types of insurance include total and permanent disability, where you've suffered an event where you are permanently disabled, or income protection, which comes into force where you can't work as a result of an event. Again, where you've got lost super or super you haven't kept track of, there may be insurance within that super that you may not even know about. So it really is worth investigating what you might have access to. Just in terms of looking for lost super, the ATO actually have a search tool to search for super. So that's sort of the first port of call in terms of trying to find your superannuation. The next area where you can find support from a financial point of view is through government support options. So Centrelink is an obvious first area to look into. Centrelink has payments such as job seeker, family tax benefit, but one in particular that people may not know about is crisis payments in emergency situations. So again, always worth sort of getting in contact with Centrelink, whether that's again through your financial advisor or power of attorney, or doing it yourself. And another area where you're able to sort of get financial assistance is through the capital in your family home or property. So there's a home equity access scheme, which is something that can be explored if you're of pension age. And again, that's something that's a government scheme, which may be of help. Also worth getting in contact with your bank. So if you do have a mortgage, banks can offer support in a number of ways. So banks will have programs, and people do have financial hardship, and there are a number of options that can be considered in terms of helping people out in a situation where they can't meet their ongoing mortgage payments. And look, that may be that they either reduce the payments that are owing. There might be a holiday on the payments. It may be that they can provide support in other ways. And again, that's something that whoever's providing you with assistance can follow up that avenue. The other area might be school fee relief as well. So again, where there's those large ongoing costs, whether it's with a bank or a school with school fees, it's always worthwhile to get in contact with that organisation and sort of explore options as to how they can assist. Just some other areas that might be worth mentioning as well. There's people can consider, again, if you've got a financial advisor or someone with that sort of financial experience, so it doesn't necessarily have to be an advisor, but it might even be just someone close to you, just sitting down and working through sort of budgeting and expense tracking. So quite often when your life is turned upside down and either you've suddenly no longer have income coming in that you were previously relying on, or you've got these additional expenses coming in, which is sort of outside what you were used to, it can be very difficult to sort of identify, one, what your current position is, and I suppose get an overview of where you sit from a financial position. And that's where sometimes sitting down and using a tool, which is either an expense tracking tool or a budgeting tool, can sort of provide you with the information to make the decisions you need to make, to identify those costs that are important and need to be met, and maybe those that can be eliminated or pushed back. And I think too, as you're going through the process of trying to identify those areas that we discussed earlier, where you can either find relief or where you can access super, or where there's insurance claims, just being able to put that overall picture together will help in terms of identifying, I suppose, what is important and what's not, and achieving the things you need to I suppose be able to focus on things that are important to you at this point in time, which is your health, getting the care you need, focusing your energy in those areas, and not having to worry about these the financial side of things. So they're probably the main things. That look, just one other thing worth mentioning, I suppose, is that there are other sort of assistance programs. So utility providers, for instance, might be able to assist. So where you've got electricity, gas and water bills, those sorts of things, again, always worth reaching out and seeing how those providers can provide assistance. And look, there's probably a number of other organisations or providers that I haven't mentioned today. It's always just worth reaching out to them and seeing how assistance can be provided. And it's very much worth, utilising the people around you, your powers of attorney, financial advisors, accountants, and just close family and friends to assist in that process. Judy, Mark, did you have anything else you want to mention before we go to questions?
I'd like to say one thing. I think the summary of it, in many ways, is to find an advocate, somebody in your corner. And that's what we offer our services as in many cases. So, just that trusted person to sort of help guide the process and allow those that are suffering the illness to sort of focus on their treatment, which is the only thing that really matters in real terms. So I think finding that person to lean on, that knows where to go to and knows who to turn to come up with solutions is really important. Judy, did you, before we go to questions, anything to?
No, I agree with that, Mark. I'd be interested to take some questions.
Alison, Grant here. How you going?
Good, Grant, over to you.
Just a quick one. I'm not sure whether I've brought this subject up previously, but is there some sort of means test from a cancer patient point of view that is required, Mark and Co, to go through, for a better word, if you supply the services or not?
I think that's a question for Mark.
Well, no, not really. We basically all we need to know, Grant, is for those that really want support, is an outline of what their circumstances are, and we'll sort of take it from there. We won't look at it and go, well, what your financial capacity is, because it's a pro bono service in real terms.
Yep.
And it's interesting with the Cancer Council in Victoria, when we were involved, they started to include towards the end of our involvement accounting firms and law firms who wanted to provide pro bono services as well, because there was often overlooked that many sufferers and their families were actually business owners, and they had nowhere to go to in relation to, well, how do we deal with this?
Yep.
So there's no, it's whatever the situation is, and we'll help where we can. And if we've got to bring in other people, well, we'll do that.
Yep. Fantastic. Thank you.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right, sorry.
That's okay.
Teams mucking up my system. So if we actually wanted individual help, we just call Arrow Financial Services, do we? Or is for an email or?
Yep. Well, it's either way. I mean, I think there's been a few contacts or referrals come through Alison and the team in the last week or two, which basically is just an introduction via email, and then we'll sort of contact
Right.
you
Okay.
and have a chat.
So I'm sure we all got fairly unique financial circumstances. So,
Yeah, everybody's different.
yeah.
But it starts with the conversation.
Yep. Okay.
If you like, Mike, you can
Sure.
give me a call and we can have a chat, and
Yeah. Okay.
I'll do the introduction if you like.
If there are any questions after the session, obviously we're happy to answer them. So if you send them through via email, maybe via Alison, and we'd be more than happy to get back to you.
Thank you. Did anyone else have any questions? Jamal, was there anything that you'd like to ask today?